It all began in 2013 when there was we had terrible flooding in the area. And the Creekside Mobile Home was a part of some of that damage. Bill and Virginia Jaquish since then have been in a battle with the town of German Flats, and specifically with Supervisor Frank Spotto over the township saying that they have to get rid of their park. You guys have to give up. It's in a flood zone. People can no longer live there. You've had some court proceedings, each time being dealt blows, and this last one was quite a blow when they failed to issue a stay on an order put forth by Judge Siegel in Supreme Court in Herkimer County. And here we are today. You guys are facing contempt of court charges. What's next for you, Bill and Virginia? Good morning.
Good morning. Morning. We're going to continue on. We are going to the appellate. We have everything ready for the appellate and so forth. The meeting between the lawyers and Judge Centra was in Syracuse last week.
Oh, it was Syracuse.
Syracuse.
Okay.
And
you say meeting. It really was more of a meeting. It was quick. It was procedural. He just failed to – it wasn't like it was a court proceeding.
No, we weren't even there.
Okay.
There was just the two lawyers and Judge Centra.
And the judge refused to offer a stay, which means what's the date? It'll be this week or next week? You'll have to go before the Supreme Court.
The 29th.
The 29th, the end of the month.
Yes. We don't know what's going to happen. I know they're going to do something probably for no reason. We wish we had reasons why this is going to be. I mean, this park complies to everything, and it has since we started. Of course, anybody would start repairing their property immediately after the flood, which everyone else did. People whose basements caved in and so forth, they immediately did it without permits or whatever. But we have filed permits. We have complied with every single thing that has to be done to be in that way. And we've been told by FEMA, by the DEC, the head people, it can be there as long as it complies because the park's been there since 1963.
Right.
I have a question. It came up last week. When we talk about you needed permits to repair things after the flood, that's kind of surprised me because we talked about this. If your basement floods after a flood, a major rain event, you don't think to get a permit or to rebuild something. You think it was there, it was fine, it's broken, I fix it.
Exactly.
Are there different rules, though, or laws or regulations based on the fact that you have you're a business, so you own a park where you rent to several people? Could be that it's commercial. That it's commercial, and it'll be different. I don't know.
The floodplain development permits are normally for new development and things like that. These, we didn't think we needed one. They were there. Right. Everything is in the exact same footprint it was in prior to the flood.
So the initial change was that the flood happened, you began to make repairs, and then what happened? They came to you and said, you can't be doing this, you need a permit.
Yes, they said you needed a floodplain development permit.
Okay.
And so, we had absolutely questioned that. I did plead guilty to Judge Stone was the town judge there. Mm-hmm. And, this went on and on with stop work orders. And, Stoney, I call him Stoney, he had said, look, just plead guilty, pay a $250 fine. Let's get this thing over with, fill out the floodplain development permit, and let's go on, and let's get this over with. So reluctantly, and I mean very reluctantly, but I did plead guilty. We paid the $250 fine. Then the town, we filled out the floodplain development permit, exactly what was on the building permit, the request from the town of German Flats, the codes officer, Tony Klimek. We had filled it out. Then all of a sudden, it wasn't adequate enough. And so it was back and forth. And then they wanted us to do more studies. And so we brought in, two surveyors to determine the base flood elevations. We had two professional engineers, state engineers, and again, too, he kept denying the permits, denying them. The thing of it is then in September, and actually this was in 2014, we filled out the floodplain development permit in August.
So can I just interrupt for a second? And so when they're saying, so they're denying the permit and you still are going forward and fixing, is that what they're going after you? You're making repairs. Is that what they're going after you for? Are they going after you for the original? When you go into court and you're appealing, what are you appealing, I guess, We're
appealing the facts, is what we're appealing.
Okay.
And the thing of it is in the court, there are no transcripts of our orders. okay, or of the judge's, our lawyer's decision and comments and whatnot. There are no transcripts of that court proceedings. There are none. So now they're saying that this can't be, new evidence cannot be brought in. Why aren't there transcripts of this? Of our arguments, with Mark, our first attorney, making the arguments and stuff. There are no transcripts or anything of this information.
We need to clarify that we've never been allowed to speak a word in any of the court proceedings.
Why is that? Do you ask your lawyer? And what does...
I don't know. Why are we not allowed a hearing? Why can't we speak? Why can't people say what, we could? None of our engineering plans, nothing could have been brought out. Not one single fact that could we bring out in court.
Do you say this to your lawyer? Do you question this? And what's the answer that you get?
It's a bench decision by Judge Siegel, I guess.
Yeah. And the judge does not have to require transcripts,
But doesn't you feel your information is vital to this case, right? So I just don't understand why.
Yeah. Well, they could go and represent themselves, but again, you'd be in the middle of court procedure, and you couldn't represent yourself, especially at this level now. I guess my because what I'd said last week is if you're going after an appeal on the fact that you made improvements without a permit, I'm not sure you can win that because you're never going to be able to tell your story about it's not about whether or not your property is in a flood zone. It's about that you went forward and made improvements on something without a permit. Am I understanding that correctly?
Why do you? Number one is they had actually. I believe that they had forced the issue that we needed a floodplain development permit. We have from 3 top state officials that the effective data is in 1985 data, not preliminary mapping. They are using the preliminary maps, forcing that we need a floodplain development permit. This is what they're using, and the maps are just clearly overlays. The maps say.
So my question is: when you're going after this appeal, are you going after an appeal of the actual fact that they're requiring this or they're using old data, or are you appealing the judge's decision, which is you worked on the property illegally because you didn't have a permit? That's my question. Because you're never able to talk in court, so now they're going to argue, and the judge is going to look at it and say, yeah, they did stuff, there was no permit. Yeah, this is cut and dry. It's almost like that's what the justice did in Syracuse last week. And if that's the case, you somewhere along the line you have an attorney that's got to go after the fact that your rights have been violated. That seems to me more of a case than the semantics here. That you are in your civil rights, your rights as a business owner have been violated. And are you fighting that in court when you go to the appellate?
Well, all of this will be in there, but we aren't fighting that, but we are going to fight that because we feel we have been violated.
That will be your next step. So there's no quick because I don't believe you're going to win the appellate. I don't believe you win that because I think the wrong thing is being argued here for you. That's and I'm not an attorney clearly, so. Right. Don't listen to anything I have to say.
Again, we aren't either.
Anything. Don't listen to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. And again, that's why I wonder when I was asking about the attorney. Do you say, when are we going to be heard? And do they say, well, once we get over this, procedural thing, when we stop arguing about the permit, and then we actually bring the case? I'm just surprised that you guys haven't had a chance to present what you think is most vital.
In all of our paperwork, all of these facts are in there that will go to the appellate. Whether they look at them, how they rule on them, I don't know. Like I say, we're not.
Well, and you see cases all the time where a judge will say, and I'm sorry I have to do this, but based on the law, this is a technicality. Based on the law, this is how I have to rule. And it gets that very precise, I think, at the appellate level. Where, boy, if you're arguing the wrong thing, and I'm not saying your attorney is, but at what point do you guys get to say, this never should have happened. We live in a country where this shouldn't happen to us. And the county, I guess they could, or the township could take using eminent domain, but you'd have to follow the proper procedures to do that, and they haven't done that.
They don't have a good reason for taking it. I mean, there is no reason. I mean, that place complies. It's safer than anyhow. I mean,
the paperwork from, like I said, the 3 officials state that park can be there. The other thing is why
been there for over 50
there's
years.
A couple of issues. Number one is when the town's attorney, Michael Moore, came in, and we had a meeting with them with our attorney. And Mark at the time had asked him, he says, what do we have to do to resolve this? And he said, if you're here thinking there's a resolution, you're wasting your time. I've been hired by the town of German Flats for one thing and one thing
to
only.
Evict you.
That is to close Creekside Park. So you tell me where we stood with this.
Yeah.
You know, from
day one.
From day one.
Okay, so we now know, though, if you do lose at this next level, the appellate, you are going to move forward in some regard. I'm not sure what your options are at this point.
We have to. We can't just give up our livelihood that we've worked so hard for over 25 years and plan to retire with it. And the people, these people do not want to leave.
It's their home, too. I get it.
It is their homes.
Yeah.
There's multiple places where permits have not been gotten, okay, and where they've come in and assessed the situation. And the homeowners and the codes officers gone back and forth, But, you sit down and they sit down and they resolve it.
So you think there's a double standard here for you guys?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Right.
Well, and like you said, go ahead.
What that is leading to is this upcoming political campaign, and it's worth talking about. The town supervisor is Frank Spotto, and Frank is up for re-election. Now, there are 2 people that are running in addition to Frank. Am I correct with that?
One.
There is only one?
There's board members. There's 4 running for a board seat,
for
2 board seats.
Got it. But there's only one, and it's Peter Ravazzi who's running against Frank Spotto.
Yes.
And Peter Ravazzi is your son. So this is personal, and I have to tell you, in talking to people down in the valley, down in German Flats, this is heated. People are picking sides here. This is going to be a very interesting race to watch. Do you want to comment on that? Is he running just to get back at Frank, or running for change? What?
He's running for change.
Okay.
He feels very strongly about what's happened. This is not the only thing in German Flats that's a real problem, and it's time. It's too long. People become complacent, and he wants to keep the young people here. Why are we driving more people out of the community? In our park, since this started, we've had 2 people go to Herkimer, 1 go to Frankfurt, 1 go to Little Falls, almost Fort Plain. They're not staying in the area. Yeah. This is just one thing.
Did you talk him into running? Did you ask him to run, or did he come to you?
Oh, no. Oh, no. He came. He feels strongly. He just can't believe what's happened all over. This is one big thing.
He feels you need open government. If any, multiple people that attended our hearings, that we had when we had them at the town office, and people just absolutely do not go to the town board meetings because there's no open government. You ask questions, trust me, please attend some of them. You get no answers. People walk out of there more disgusted than they were when they came in with an issue.
He's not theming the his party line after this, right? It's not like flooding and German Flats or something. If he were to win, if he were to win, would this resolve the issue? Could he drop the order? Do you know that?
I don't know that.
I wonder if there was a new supervisor who didn't agree with this, who agreed with the Jaquishes, they could say, we're dropping this whole issue and moving on.
Well, I don't know the answer to it.
I don't know.
And back to the appellate court. So when you go to the appellate, if they were to side with you, what would be overturned? It would be the Judge Siegel's decision to evict. What would be overturned? Do you guys have any idea?
Sure.
Okay. You're in the hands of an attorney, and sometimes that right can be confusing.
Yes, I mean, I wish we knew more about the law, to be honest with you.
All right, guys. Well, listen, best of luck. And there is a letter that you gave us here. It's from former Mayor of Mohawk, who currently lives at Creekside there, speaking very nicely. We'll post this about you guys and the park. And it is said, he says that he would have to, she would have to move. Sorry. I didn't get all the way to the bottom, so it's a pretty good sized letter. I read it during the commercial break. I can only read so fast. Okay, thank you and good luck, and keep us posted. Okay,
Thank you.
All right.